The Army changed the lives of all those who served. Daily life differed greatly from what the men had experienced growing up. Chinese Americans and immigrants alike were not keen on the American Army food served in mess halls. Obeying orders did not always come naturally. For Chinese Americans, China was a foreign country that took time to adjust to. For the young men who had never lived away from home, it was time to grow up.
At home we were spoiled, really. And overseas we have to stand up for ourselves. Well, you have to be a man, really. You have to make your own decisions and act on them and be more reliable to yourself, be responsible for yourself. Whereas before you weren't, because your parents you were always back on your parents. And that we had to learn.
The soldiers brought American culture with them to China. The 407 created its own unit newspaper, Gung Ho. Written in both Chinese and English, Gung Ho appealed to Chinese Americans and immigrants alike. It put a humorous twist on Army life and cultural tension. Soldiers enjoyed the newspaper so much that they sent copies home. Units also formed their own volleyball, basketball, and baseball teams. Leisure time was filled with inter-unit sports competitions, eating, and playing cards. During 1945, several of the units threw dance parties and barbecues. After the surrender of the Japanese, the men certainly had something to celebrate. Among the local women and Red Cross women, single men met their future wives. In America and in China, the units of the 14th Air Service Group drew attention wherever they went. Attention in America stemmed mostly from surprise. In cities, negative attention was more common. In China, locals always gave the men of the 14th Air Service Group a warm welcome. Dialects usually did not match up, and not all the Chinese American soldiers could speak Chinese. Nevertheless, the men felt appreciated. The locals celebrated the men as Americans, come to liberate them from the horrors of the Sino-Japanese War. The war had made death, destruction, and starvation a part of daily life for years. These were desperate times, and the soldiers did all they could to help.
Every time we meet them, we had to give our food away to them.
People in villages treated us very well. We were supposed to be the rescuers for them.
For the paper sons fighting for America, being placed in the role of rescuer gave rise to questions about identity. They were all fake American citizens. In America, all Chinese had faced harsh discrimination. Unlike American-born Chinese, the immigrants knew of another life back in China. America was never supposed to be home. But returning to China as an American soldier made things unclear. Because they had so much in common culturally, the soldiers and the locals developed a special bond. But a gap was also steadily forming. China had changed. It was not the same home the paper sons had left years ago. The conditions were much worse, and the country's future was uncertain. In many ways, America was a more comfortable place, despite the discrimination and segregation. More and more, the paper sons felt they were fighting for America. They were becoming Americans first. The camaraderie within and among units also made the Chinese soldiers feel a part of America. Racial and cultural tension did frequently arise when interacting with Caucasian units. Yet, overall, the Army offered greater equality than could be found in civilian life in the United States. In America, the men were seen as solely Chinese, but in China, they felt more like Americans than ever before. Like all the units under the 14th Air Service Group, my grandfather did not see much combat. He worked behind the lines, fixing equipment and securing communication between units. Serving in World War II was one of the best experiences of his life.
He absolutely loved it. He got to learn a lot of things. He liked getting up early in the morning. He used to sing songs, and he says, "Okay, you gotta get up, you gotta get up. You're in the army now." And he would sing songs like this, and these were, you could just tell that there was such fondness in these memories, and it gave him a sense of being somebody really different, somebody that was worth something other than this, Chinese man working in some restaurant or anything else. It gave him incredible, sense of self-worth.